Hello, everybody. Buddy Web, Midland, Texas. A little short video today as a Facebook post I did earlier. A lot of people thought was very interesting. I've talked about it before. It come to my mind, and I think it is connected to the most recent video where I reported it a DHS agent because I suspected, based on evidence, that he had been working with the human trafficking ring that I was reporting to them that I believe is behind multiple capital murders. And so that's what that last video is about. I think it's a real very important video. Well, this one I'm gonna name missing records, and it's related because I'm suspecting somebody with the city deleted government required records intentionally on purpose to try to cover up the underground facilities for the purpose of covering up these same multiple murders. So once again, that becomes tampering with evidence, if that's what it is, and obstruction of justice in capital and death penalty cases. And we're talking about the young girl that Angie told me was murdered at the old show party, believed to happen in the underground home in the backyard. So anyway, here's what I'm showing you. This is an email from Julia Weideman, dated Friday, November 22nd, 2019. Okay, and Julia wrote me, and here's what she's saying. Basically, I'm just gonna read what I posted here, and that explains it. It says Julia Weideman, a lady from Dallas, Texas, saw my story online, and since she had expertise in the permit records that are required by law for underground structures, she drove 4 hours from there to Midland here to see them. It makes sense there would be some records pertaining to the 4 3-bedroom underground homes that were said to have been put in by the Bushes back in the 80s and cost millions of dollars. Multiple people documented, that's where I get all that information at, all them details. It's believed this is where the famous old show parties were held and where a young girl was murdered at in 2010 when she refused to prostitute, and also connected with the suspected murder of the last homeowner in my home that died the week before the 2008 old show started. And it looks like one of them 4 3-bedroom underground homes is my backyard based on Google Maps. Julia met with James Rawls. He worked with the City of Midland, who worked with the City of Midland. He told her that he was the gatekeeper for those required records. He was the person to go to. A Google search showed that Mr. Rawls used to work for Home Depot. I'm going to show you a print screen of that here in a minute. And I think that's real interesting. She later told me, this is Julia told me, she says, and when I asked him about the permit records for storm shelters in Midland, he, with a smile, told me that all of the permit records prior to 2015 had been destroyed or lost due to an attempt to digitize the department's records in 2014-2015. She went on to say, when I brought up the subject of the basement at the Home Depot, he clearly unnerved him. But he was downright gloating about those missing records. That's what Julia wrote me after she drove all the way down here to see these government required records. Okay, and he told her that they accidentally deleted 2014-2015 timeframe. As an IT professional, as I am, I took care of a computer network many, many years. It just seemed incomprehensible that somebody would try to digitize records without making a backup, especially in 2014, 2015. It's not like the internet was brand new. It was well known by all IT people to make backups, especially if you're doing that, and double, especially if it's government required records. In fact, I suspected the backups were required by law. Okay, because they are official documents. I suspected those important records were intentionally destroyed in an effort to limit liability and cover up the multiple capital murders connected with the underground homes and the oil show parties and the other parties that were held down there. Had already suspected a cover-up was going on around the same time frame of 2014-15 as 2 of the former secret police that were seen on camera at my home a few hours after the murder attempt on my life in 2012 both died mysteriously within 2 months of each other around that 2014 time frame. Both Naylor and Simpson's names were missing from the long withheld police report. And, so it's fishy all the way around here. 2 of the secret police dead. Their names are not even on the police report. Everything and all these different things are going on right around that same time frame as they accidentally delete all their records, right? In September 2014, a Suddenlink cable TV internet internet line that I found going into the ground in my alley had a disconnect called in for it by somebody. Okay, and that was suspicious. I got a video on that. It was after I found it and started asking, where does this go? I now believe it goes to the underground home. Okay, and then at the same time, when the live tree that was right there behind Home Depot in my house, set next to the side by side manholes, was removed. They removed a live tree. Once again, I had taken pictures over there because I suspected one of the manholes was a tunnel entrance. Okay. And then the suspected tunnel entrance in the backyard of my next door neighbor on the east side was removed all during that same time frame. So there was even more than that, things that happen all during this time frame when these records go missing. Okay, and so I'm gonna just hit some of the comments on here, and so it won't be that long, and y'all can follow up on this if you think it's interesting. But on September 22nd, 2014, and that's what I'm saying, in the same time frame as them records were accidentally deleted, supposedly. Suddenlink was in my alley with a disconnect notice for the coax cable that I found going in the ground as suspected of being used by the underground home in my backyard where the oil show party murder is believed to have happened. I got a video called Mystery Coax Outside. That's real interesting if you hadn't seen that. On October 9th, 2014. Now look at the time frame. It's just the next month. Secret Police and Midland Sheriff Deputy Mike Naylor was killed with a stolen gun. He was alleged to have been shot during a warrant arrest call. He was the second secret police seen arriving at my home, and his name had been omitted from the long withheld police reports for that night. I believe he was under my home at a party when I was shot. That explained why he showed up, at my front door 19 minutes after I had crawled out and left. The question has been asked if he was going to snitch on the other secret police, and that would expose the $1 million underground homes and all the other murders and all that. And then he was silenced by some of them other secret police. Was he going to snitch? One cop snitching on another cop, and then you end up dead. That's all we're saying here. And see, it took 6 years to get him identified. When he died, he wasn't even identified as a secret police at my house. When he died, I had a reward offered for his identity, a $2,000 reward. I didn't know it was a sheriff deputy, of course, and so my next comment here, Martin County Sheriff, and I want to say this is Midland County. Okay, that's a whole different county in Texas. Martin County Sheriff John Woodward and the late Midland County Deputy Mike Naylor were seen on camera arriving at 11:01 p.m. on January 28, 2012, 19 minutes after I crawled out, but their names had been omitted from the police report as they were not dispatched. Interestingly, MPD Lieutenant Dickey was timestamped as being inside my home 4 minutes later, but he was not seen arriving. That proved he came into my home from the now removed trapdoor entrance the ex-wife had told me about, and from where I had been ambushed and shot from. Absolute proof shows I wasn't shot with my gun, so we knew somebody under my home shot me, and that put this police officer under my home. It looks like it may have been police that tried to murder me inside my home. Perhaps Naylor was going to snitch on them. That was the point of this. So this next print screen here on this side was from my security cameras. Right minutes after I had crawled out, survived, this murder attempt. These criminals had sneaked into my home or under my home, setting off burglar alarms in my attic and shot me by surprise, directly in artery, point blank range. I was supposed to die, right? 19 minutes later, these two get seen on camera arriving, okay? And it took 6 years to find out. The first one was a sheriff from a whole different county. That was John Woodward. And then the second one was Mike Naylor, and now he's dead, okay? You see how fishy that sounds? Well, then here on the police report that was illegally withheld for 7 years, we find out that Dickey was inside my house at 11:05. 4 minutes later, but Dickey wasn't seen arriving, okay? All my other doors were secured with extra padlocks. That's what told me Dickey came into my home from the now removed trapdoor entrance the ex-wife had already told me about, and from where, the evidence shows I was shot from. So it looks like it might have been police that tried to kill me in my home, and that would explain the secret police and the unprecedented lawlessness and a lot of things that have gone on if it was police that tried to murder me. Okay, my next comments on December 15, 2014, Secret Police and Midland K-9 police officer Chad Simpson was alleged to have killed his wife and then himself with his 2 babies in the home. Chad was seen inside my home on the security camera, which they had tried to disable a few hours after I'd survived being ambushed and shot with my phone lines cut. His name was also missing from the long withheld police report for that night. The question had been asked if he was going to snitch on the other secret police, and they silenced him. So what I'm saying is, here's another police officer besides Naylor. Naylor, dies in October. Okay, December, 3 months later, here Chad Simpson, Midland K-9 police officer, he dies. Okay, and supposedly he murdered his wife, Sandra Simpson, and then killed himself. That was the official story. Question's been asked once again because we found out he was one of the secret police in my home, and his name was also missing from the police report. Actually, 6 officers seen on camera had their names omitted on that heavily falsified, police report from that night, which is the one they withheld illegally for 7 years. Okay. And a big reason because it put, Dickie under my house or inside my house 4 minutes after Woodward Naylor showed up without being seen arriving. Okay. So 2 days before secret police, Chad Simpson was alleged to have murdered his wife. Now keep this in mind, this is December 2014. It says, I posted his picture to my Facebook along with a story called Rape and Murder. That was about the young girl that Angie told me was murdered at the 2010 old show party, now believed to be in the underground home in the backyard. I didn't know that it was Chad wearing the Midland K-9 police jacket until 6 years later when Empire Private Investigations collected the $2,000 reward money and identified all 11 of the former secret police. This has been lawlessness. I used to say the first known secret police since Nazi Germany, I mean, literally, not a news story in the nation, nobody arrested. They go on like this is just how they do business every day. And this was a premeditated home invasion, capital murder attempt, left a citizen crippled for life. A citizen had been reporting crimes to the police. But it looks like the police were working with the criminals breaking into the homes. And there's a problem. Here's what I'm showing. On December 13th, 2014, I posted the rape and murder story, and Chad's picture was here, but I didn't know it was Chad. I just knew it was a secret police officer, okay? Now I know it's Chad that was in my home, okay? 2 days after this gets posted, all of a sudden this guy here in my home, right, is alleged to murder her, Sandra Simpson, and then kill himself, all wrapped up, no questions asked, murder, suicide, who are you going to talk to, right? And, and there's people, a lot of people told me Chad was a good guy, and just had them 2 babies, and it just didn't make sense. Questions, been asked if they wasn't murdered as part of this cover up. Moving on, and what I'm saying is this is the same time frame as them records got deleted. It's like, oh well, they have like a little checklist, trying to cover up these multiple murders connected with these $1 million underground homes. Okay. So Google Maps shows a live tree was removed from behind my home in the same time frame. It sat next to the 2 side-by-side manholes. I had suspected one of them manholes was a tunnel entrance, and I had sent pictures of it to the then Chief of Police, Price Robertson, in 2012 after I returned from the hospital. Okay, he never replied. But a Freedom of Information Act could find that, I'm sure. Also removed during the same time frame was a suspected tunnel entrance in the backyard of the next door neighbor. It looks like it was put in around the same time as when the previous owner of my home, Mike Lawhon, died. Mike died the week before the 2008 oil show started. You see how this tied back to oil show, especially with a young girl being murdered at the 2010 oil show, believed to be in the underground home. Okay. So here what I'm showing you, these are dated Google Earth pictures, okay? This one's in 2014, October 2014, and here's my house where I was ambushed and shot. Here's the east neighbor. In the backyard was a suspected tunnel entrance right there, okay? And, it looked more like a storm cellar door. That's what it looked like. And then I noticed it on these Google Maps and everything. Well, it was taken out by 2016, actually earlier than that. In the 2014, 2015 timeframe, it was removed, okay? And it was actually put in around the time Mike Lawhon died in 2008, because you can go back to Google Earth pictures and see when it's put in. At the same time, this live tree right here is removed behind Home Depot. Now look over here. Live tree's there. It's gone here. So in between them 2 time frames, they removed a live tree, and that live tree sat next to the 2 side-by-side manholes, right? One of them being a suspected tunnel entrance coming over to my home, probably going to the underground facility, whatever. I don't think it's the one used for the oil show parties, Probably more for the human trafficking, sex trafficking, and the truckers. That's what I figure. This is the picture that I this is the picture that I emailed to former Midland Chief Police Bryce Robinson not long after I'd been ambushed and shot by somebody under my home. There were two manholes that were side by side on the other side of the Home Depot wall behind my home. That seems strange anyway, two side by side manholes. I would often hear cars stop there. I could see their lights on the wall, and, hear the car doors, and a few minutes later I'd hear somebody in the attic. I believe it was a quick entrance, but not the one used by the people at the oil show parties. I think they were parked in the Home Depot parking lot, probably going underground somewhere there. You can see where the tunnel is on the other picture. The live tree next to it was taken out in 2014, 2015, and I suspect that was part of the cover-up is why they removed that live tree next to this manhole. And that's what I was showing. This is what that lid was off that manhole for 2 or 3 years. Okay. And I would literally, I couldn't see because of the wall, but I could see the car lights and hear a car stop there, hear the car doors. I mean, people at night would pull up there, stop there, get out of the car, and then 5 minutes later drive away, and then I hear somebody in my attic, And so it was obviously that was one of the entrances, underground entrances. Also removed during that same time frame in 2014-15 was another suspected tunnel entrance located in the neighbor's backyard. I would often hear people out there in the middle of the night and see flashlights. And a lot of this was all posted on my Facebook, and all of a sudden, that's when we had the cover up. It was after I found it, after I identified it, after I had survived, crippled for life, surviving a murder attempt. And I'll just show you one of these. This dated in 2016, and you can see that how that had just been removed. That suspected tunnel entrance right there, okay? And also the tree's gone, okay? Now I'm showing, and I got another video called Digging Noise, which is real interesting. On my camera, my dog noticed a dig noise next to that shed right there, and I put my phone up and recorded it. You could hear somebody under the ground digging right there. That's why I put that there. So this was zoomed in, and zoomed in shows you a better look. It sat about maybe 6 inches off the ground. It wasn't a hot tub or nothing like that. It looked more like storm shelter doors is what it looked like. And then, like I said, it got taken out same time as that tree got taken out. Notice here's a water well too. And right here's where it's believed one of the underground homes is. And so that's in another video that maybe water wells is a clue to find the other underground homes. I found 2 other houses, same mortar problem in mine, and both have water wells near them, and so I think maybe so I was told there were 4 3-bedroom underground homes. Anyway, back to the story. I Googled James Rawls, the City of Midland employee that Julia talked to, and I learned he used to work at the Midland Home Depot store. I just thought that was super interesting. Remember what she wrote me and said that she mentioned the basement under Home Depot, and it unnerved him. Okay, that was her exact words. He was the paint supervisor right there at Midland Home Depot. Okay, this store. My friend told me that he asked his friend about the basement of the Midland Home Depot, and she warned him that it's dangerous to talk about that. This is another print screen. I've kept him anonymous, but he wrote me and told me, he says, I mentioned the basement under the Midland Home Depot store to a girl I know, and her first response, how do you know this? Be careful who you're telling this to. It's dangerous. You need to be careful who you're telling to about that basement under the Midland Home Depot store, okay? And so I provided his name to law enforcement before. 2019, I showed Homeland Security where I believe a tunnel was located going from the Home Depot store in my home where it's believed one of the underground homes is at. 2 weeks later, the ground is dug up and concrete was poured there. And that's that last video where I just reported a DHS agent because I was back here behind Home Depot with the DHS agent, actually 2 of them, 2 weeks before the ground was dug up and concrete was poured. I showed them where I believe the human trafficking murder tunnel was at. And you could see it on Google Maps. See where the ground's cut and the asphalt's a different color right here? Right here's my home, right here in the backyards where it's believed one of the underground homes is at. I believe the people are parking at Home Depot, coming in this tunnel, going here. As soon as I showed DHS where this was, the ground's dug up and concrete's poured. That was the whole point of reporting him for suspicion that he's working with this murderous human trafficking ring. Multiple people are documented as saying that underground homes are here, including one guy that was recently ran for sheriff, Joe Lozano. Based on Google Maps, it looks like one of them underground homes is in my backyard. My home is directly behind Home Depot. And as I'm showing here, I've showed this many times, Google Maps, put my address in, and you got the map screen and the set screen. And on the map screen, there's a large bunker in my backyard that you can't see from above ground. I believe that's one of the 4 underground homes I was told about. And that's what I'm saying here. I recorded a woman telling me that there was underground homes. Another woman documented saying one's a half block away. Leigh O'Brien said she worked on this job, put in by the bushes, finished 87, 7.35 million. They called it the Safe House Project for the Bushes, as in President Bushes, okay, that are from Midland, Texas, and the oil business. Sheriff candidate Joe Lozano told me that the underground homes was the hideout for Sheriff Painter on another recorded phone call. So that's plenty of people to talk to, right? And then this last one is just somebody going, hey, where can I find out more information about this? This is, I'm interested in your story. And so I just wanted to show you that on the missing records, and hopefully, I think a lot of people have seen local people. They arrested a attorney over in Odessa on federal warrant, searched his house, but they haven't released what, and I had just contacted the feds and reported that DHS agent with evidence, because I believe the evidence is real clear to show that he was, working with others to try to terrorize me into selling my home, because it has an underground home in the backyard, and that's where a little girl was murdered. That was the whole point of reporting that and trying to restore rule of law. Anyway, this is Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. One last thing I want to show people, in case you have to watch this whole video. Most all of my videos here, okay, I'm going to just hit the first one. There might be all kinds of... At the top, pinned to the top, is a comment called Tunnels and Underground Facilities in Midland, Texas. I try to pin that to all my videos, and it gives a short history, okay? And that if you're new to this, that's going to be, answer a lot of questions, and a list of videos I think you'll want to watch. People in the attic, very important, the suspected murder of the last homeowner, Mike Lawhon, the story about the old show party murder of the girl, during the commission of a felony, it looks like a burglar was trapped when somebody under my home shot me, and based on evidence, it looks like it was police that shot me, tried to kill me in my home. How to get away with murder, that shows the evidence, the room that I shot in, the evidence that shows me that I was not shot with a shotgun, but shot with a handgun loaded with a special plastic tip pellet-filled bullet to make it look like a shotgun. And then Dr. Glass's wife tells about the horrific nightmares, medical crimes, and the Haley Dunn timeline, and how it's believed that Haley Dunn, famous missing murdered child from Colorado City, has a connection to these underground homes. Sheriff Painter's hideout, that was the Sheriff candidate Joe Lozano telling me that Sheriff Painter used to hide out in these underground homes here. And why hasn't anybody been caught in camera? I made that video. It's because they've got the cameras hacked, Not only do they have a secret police gang, and they got the press all over America, hiding the fact that homeowners all across the country are reporting people in the attic, That's how big and powerful these criminals are, that are rigging these homes, right? Well, why hasn't been anybody caught on camera? Because they're hacking the cameras, but there's proof right there. That's a proof video. Why don't you dig? Another question I'm asked all the time. Why don't you dig, buddy? Why don't you arrest 11 police officers with guns that are dirty, lying on police reports and stealing evidence, Well, because there's 11 police officers stealing evidence, lying on police reports, and I need real law enforcement to restore rule of law here, because we got multiple capital murders besides somebody trying to kill me, leaving me crippled life. My life has been ruined. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.